There's a lot going on. Let's get her done. We're doing not chapter 9, continuing it. Get my shit out of the way. Yeah, we started chapter 9. So this is on 9.2, and we're going to be talking about the intercepts and inequalities. Inequalities. Two completely different topics. I don't know why they're all in one chapter. They should just make two short sections. They're like not related at all. So we were working with equations like 2x plus y equals 4, and we were making tables to plot them. And we go through and make the table. And this one's going to end up looking like something like that, but I'm not going to do that just yet. The idea of what an intercept is an intercept is where it crosses the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. The vertical axis is intercepting or crossing the y-axis. This is called the y-intercept. And this is called the x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis. And it doesn't matter where it crosses the x-axis. It could be way over to the right. It could be way over to the left. It could be at 0. Wherever it crosses is called the x-intercept. The x-intercept always has a value. It's got some value. We'll use j. And the y value is always 0. So j is just different for each equation. The y-intercept doesn't really matter where you cross there. Wherever it crosses, the x value is always 0 there, and maybe we'll call that. I'm going to use b because they use b. Maybe I'll use a over here because they use b for y. So it's a value. What we can sense, the x-intercept always has a y value of 0. To find the x-intercept, and I abbreviate intercept to int, set y equal to 0 and solve for x. See, what the fuck are you laughing about already?
Oh, the thing.
She takes like some meds. She gets high or something before she comes in here. She's all baked. It's what it is, isn't it, Nate? Fucking nailed it. Finally figured it out. She comes in half baked. Fucking, this is funny as hell. So let's do that here. If I set y equal to 0, this problem turns into 2x plus 0 equals 4. So 2x equals 4. And if I divide by 2, I get x equals 2. This would give me the point 2, 0. Because to do that, I had y equals 0. No, I used to a lot. Not a lot. When I was a teenager, I preferred speed over weed because I already had the munchies too much and I didn't need more reasons to fucking eat. I did not like cocaine, just crank. There you go, more information than you needed to know. I did anything that didn't have a needle involved, I can't do needles.
So we.
To find the y-intercept,
Very little, a lot of it.
I'm very lucky, why?
You named it.
Oh, I liked it a lot, everybody that does it likes it a lot, you just eventually, something comes more important than you want to quit. But you know, I think that might be too young. But 90, 91, definitely. Up until probably
Because I know it was popular back.
2000, on and off. I quit for a while, and then my girlfriend at the time wanted to toy around with it, and she used it very passively. Like once a week, maybe to do more chores, and I was like, nope, let's stay up and play fucking video games all night long. And we were gonna be engaged, or we were engaged, we ended up breaking off because of that. That's what made me quit. To find the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. You are really good at derailing.
So wait, does that mean we equal turkey? Those withdrawals are pitch.
It can be. Alcohol withdrawals are worse. To find the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. So let's do that here. Why they're worse is because it's really easy to buy alcohol. It's everywhere. You can't leave your house without fucking going by something that sells it. And so it's really, what? I didn't hear what you said. I don't know what that is. No.
So it's our generation.
Okay. Don't tell me there's drugs I haven't tried yet. This. Nitrous?
What the?
It didn't take a needle. If I can hit the nitrous tank. Find the y-intercept, we set x equals 0. Let's do that here. 2 times 0 plus y equals 4. So y equals 4. That was when x equals 0. And so the point here is 0, 4. The only reason I tell stories about that to students is proof that you can stop doing it, get your shit together, and get a great job. You can, like, get your shit together. That's how we do y-intercepts and x-intercepts. Let me give you guys one to try. Find the intercepts. What? Of course. Told you anything that didn't take a needle.
So did you smoke crystal or did you sniff it?
I preferred smoking it.
Really? Yeah, that's scary.
Find the intercepts for 4x minus y equals 7.
Wait.
Sending it burned like mother.
Those are you was it? He was like,
Don't do drugs. Well, this is do not do drugs. Just because I'm saying I did it, I'm not encouraging you guys to do it. I need to make that clear. So try to find the intercepts. I just showed you how. I'll try to do it. All right. So if you want to find the x-intercept, we need to set y equal to 0. So 4x equals 7. We divide by 4 and we get x equals 7/4. So the x-intercept is 7/4, 0. If you wanted to put it as a decimal, you would have had 1.75. Which is where I'm going to get to next, and we're going to graph this in a second. If we want the y-intercept, we have to set x equal to 0. And we get negative y equals 7. So if I divide by -1, I get y equals -7. And I get the point 0, -7. Guys ready for more? All right, we're going to use those points and show graphing them. So for 4x minus y equals 7, we had the points 7, 4, 0, and 0, -7. And we'll do that one first. You know, I have graph paper, and do I draw the line on the fucking lines? No, I don't. Scrub.
Oh, it's a draw.
I'm pretty close. With line graph paper, I don't do every hashtag, I just do hashtags at the 5s. It's like a targeting system. So we saw 7/4 was really 1.75, 0. That's like closer to the 2 than the 1. And 0, -7 is down here. I recommend, you know, we have enough points to draw a line. I can draw a straight line right here. But I recommend testing a point maybe in between them. So let's plug in, let's find the third point by picking an x in between them. So here x is 0, here x is 1.75. Maybe let's try x equals 1. If I do that, I've got 4 times 1 minus 7, or minus y equals 7. So 4 minus y equals 7. I'll subtract 4. I get negative y equals 3. And if I divide by -1, I get y equals -3. That was when x equaled 1, so my point is 1, -3. Which is right there. And that looks like it's on the same line as the rest of it. So that's the line 4x minus y equals 7. The other line we had 2x plus y equals 4. And the points we got were 2, 0 and 0, 4. Do these in a different color. 2, 0 would put me right here. 0, 4 puts me right there. Again, I'm going to plug in x equals 1 and see what I get. 2 times 1 plus y equals 4. So 2 plus y equals 4. Subtract 2 from both sides and I get y equals 2. That was when x equaled 1. So I have the point 1, 2. Now, the only way I ever draw a straight line well without using a straight edge, I need to rotate it so that the dots are like moving away from me. And then that gets reasonable. If I try to do it at an angle, it just fucks up. So this is the line 2x plus y equals 4. What? What about y equals 3x? What are my intercepts for y equals 3x? So let's find the intercepts.
My guess is 0.
0 and what? Positive 3. Well, let's check it.
That's just my guess.
Okay, so good. It's always good to make a guess at stuff. I do it all the time. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Test your intuition, and then eventually you get your intuition in line with what's going on, and you get better at recognizing when you fucked up. It's actually pretty good. So if we want the y-intercept, x equals 0. And if I plug that in, I get y equals 3 times 0, which is just 0. So 1 point is 0, 0. Oops. And if I want the x-intercept, y equals 0. So if I plug that in, I got 0 equals 3x. And I divide by 3 and I get 0 again. I get 0, 0 again. I get the point I already had. Right smack dab in the center. So I only got 1 point. I want to have 3 points. So maybe let's do -1 and +1. Let's try out -1 and +1, see what we get for values. If I put in x equals 1, y equals 3 times 1, which is just 3. And I get the point 1, 3. If I put in x equals -1, I get y equals 3 times -1, which is -3. I think to illustrate an idea that we're going to do next, I'm going to do x equals 2 real quick. If I do x equals 2, I get y equals 3 times 2, which is 6. Is the point 26, which is up there. Now, if we look at what went on. Here I went up 3. And I went right 1. And from this point to that point, I go up 3. And right 1. Down here, I go down 3, so maybe -3. And left 1, -1. There's a reason for that. 3 and 1 is the same thing as -3 and -1 if we divide them. And both of those equal 3, which is that number right there. So that number there, that 3, has a name. The number in front of X has a name. When we are in the form y equals mx plus b. M is called the slope. This is a measure of steepness. The larger the number is, the closer that gets to being a vertical line. Numbers that are like fractions, like less than 0. We'll look at one that's less than 0 in a sec, or like one that's between 0 and 1, a fraction. We'll see that looks kind of flat. It's a measure of steepness. If m is greater than 0 or positive, the line goes up as we go from left to right. It might not go up a lot, or it might go up an awful lot. If m is less than 0 or negative, the line goes down. Could go down a lot, could go down a little, could go down, just average. I have not tried scanning graph paper. I hope this scan very well. Oh, let's see this. So we just did y equals 3x. I'm gonna do it on this page because I got a lot of writing already on them. If I do something like y equals 3x plus 1. Let's do, make it, okay, 4. Let's make it 4 because it's a little bit easier to draw on it. I can find where it crosses an intercept pretty easy. In this form, it's kind of easy to plug in x equals 0. If I plug in x equals 0 here, I get y equals 4. So that puts me right there. And I can go up 3 and over 1, down 3 and over 1. And this is y equals 3x plus 4. And maybe let's do y equals 3x minus 5. I plug in x equals 0 there, I get y equals -5. So I have a point at 0, -5 down here. I can do that up 3 and over 1. Up 3 and over 1 here. So this is y equals 3x minus 5. If I call this y equals 3x plus 0, it's a little clearer to see that when I am in this form, y equals mx plus b, the number at the end is where it crosses the y-axis. That's my y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b is called the slope-intercept form of the equation. Dashing it. When you have it in this form, it's really easy. You just grab the last number, find where it is on the y-axis, you put a point there, and then you use this slope to go along it. So the way the slope is working is it's showing how far we go up or down over how far we go left or right. Some of you might remember it as rise over run. You've seen this before. If you were to describe these 3 lines without looking at the equations, like just don't look at the equations, how would you describe those 3 lines?
Parallel.
They're parallel, right? So that's something else we can notice here. These lines are parallel. And what do they have in common? They're what? Well, yeah, they're all straight. I don't know what the hell that means. Linear. They're linear. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Linear means line. I thought you were saying linear. Linear, that means a line. If we look at the equations though, what do they have? What do the equations have in common? We're only doing lines right here, so yes, they're linear. What do the equations have in common? That equation, and that equation. They all have a 3. The slope is the same for parallel lines. That's a pretty big takeaway. We're going to be using that later today. White noise.
Ah, there you go.
Parallel lines have the same slope. What? No. Fucking drinking a Trente coffee. Although.
Maybe I should shut the door.
Those are pretty good at soundproofing. It's not bad. All right, so parallel lines have the same slope. We'll use that later. So let's start with some lines that are not in parallel or slope intercept form and write them in slope intercept form. This is a separate thought. So let's write in slope intercept form. To graphing. So we'll start with 5x minus y equals 3. We will subtract 5x from both sides. We got negative y equals negative 5x minus 3. Or plus 3. And that makes it minus, nope, that's plus 3. There we go. Completely changed what I was doing. And then when I divide by negative 1, I get y equals 5x minus 3. Why don't you guys try doing the 2x plus 3y equals 6 and we'll do it together in a couple minutes. Write this where y equals so and so. All right. So we want to get y by itself, so we're going to move the 2x. And get 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. If I divide by 3 on everything, I get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. So my slope here is negative 2/3. Or we can put the negative on bottom, 2 negative 3. This one, the slope is 5. And if I want to write it as a fraction, you do, put it over 1. And just for illustration purpose, I can make that a negative 5 over negative 1. So I said n was rise over run. This is delta y over delta x. It's a change in y over a change in x. That's what delta means. Change in is delta. This is the Greek letter delta. Yeah, it looks suspiciously just like a triangle, because that's all it is. I wonder if it's the capital delta. I think it's the capital delta. I know there's another delta symbol. That's when you calculus uses it. So we're going to plot both of these lines. So the way we go about doing it is we take the number that's at the end, that's our y-intercept, that tells us where along the y-axis this line crosses. So the 2 tells me we cross at 0, 2. And then we're going to treat this as a change in y over a change in x. We'll just move along. And I'll do dots while I'm doing it. If I go a change in y that is negative 2 means that my y value's got to go down 2. And then my x value's got to go up 3, positive 3. So this would be following the negative 2, 3. You go with this one, this says there's a positive y movement up 2, and then the x value is negative 3. We go left 3 from there, and we end up over there. So this would be moving along to negative 3. You'll see when you draw a line that it still makes a straight line. So this was y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. Five x minus 3, I look at this last value and it tells me where I cross this y-axis. I cross at negative 3, which is down 3. And then I've got m equals 5/1, which means go up 5 and right 1. So up 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then right 1 puts me there. And then I don't need to make the table. As long as I have the intercept and slope, I can just start at one point and start heading in a direction. With practice, this gets easier. And that's what all the homework's for. You guys want to try to do one all on your own from start to finish? I think it's a good idea. Let's see how far you guys get. So let's start with 3x minus 2y equals 12. So write in slope intercept form. And then graph it. Yeah.
So. While we're expressing would be -3x to -3x equals 12, would that be subtracting?
You're subtracting 3x from both sides, yes.
Okay, so it would be 12.
The 12 is still positive.
Yeah, but I'm seeing 12 minus -3. Basically.
No, it's 12 plus -3x. So plus and negative is the same thing as just subtraction. You just do 12 minus 3x. And it's easier if the -3x is in the front. All right, so if we follow through with that, we're gonna subtract 3x from both sides. I get -2y equals -3x plus 12. If I divide everything by -2, I get y equals 3/2x minus 6. So this tells me to start at 0, -6. And this is my slope, which is up 3, right 2. So I will go up 3, right 2, up 3, right 2. If I do it better, they'd be spaced well. And I will connect the dots. Okay, so the inequalities part does this. What if the equation said 3x minus 2y is greater than 12? We do this the same way. We treat it like it's equal up to a given point. When you divide by a negative number with an inequality, sign flips. Multiply or divide by a negative. Have we talked about that before in here? Thought we had, I wasn't 100% confident. But everything else looks the same here. In terms of that. Now, there's more stuff going on. When we graph it, we're still going to follow the same steps. Except for one change. If you have a less than sign or a greater than sign, the line is dashed. I don't draw a solid line. If it's greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, we do a solid line. Then, if you want to be absolutely 100% confident you know which way you're going, test a point in the equation. that is not on the line. If 0, 0 is not on the line, it is the perfect point to test. What's wrong here, Hannah? You don't look like you're laughing anymore. You look like this is confusing. Okay. Okay. So if we test a point in the equation on the line, what do I mean by doing that is this. I'm going to plug in 0, 0 here and see what happens. I've got 0 is less than 3/2 times 0 minus 6. I have 0 is less than -6. Is that true? That's the point I'm testing right there, 0, 0. Is 0 less than -6? No, no. So if it's not true, you shade on the other side of the line. Any number on the other side, any point on the other side of the line will make this a true statement. If it is true, you should shade on the same side. So let's compare this to y is greater than . We'll do equal to here. I go down -6. I use the rise over run. I go up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. And now this has an equal portion, so I'm going to do a solid line.
How did you do the next one? From 3 to, like the second or the third one?
This one over here. I did 3 over 2 from here. So you can keep going from any point on the line and go up 3 over 2. And I can go the other direction too. I could go down 3, left 2. Now we'll test 0, 0 again. And we get 0 is greater than or equal to -6. This, we're testing if it's true. In this case, yes, it is. So when it is true, my 0, 0 is right here. When it's true, you shade on the side with 0, 0, your test point. Any number on that side works. So for example, if I pick 2, 0 right here, if I plug in 2, 0, that's in my shaded area. 0 is greater than or equal to 3/2 times 2 minus 6. This is 0 is greater than or equal to 3 minus 6. Where 0 is greater than or equal to -3. This is also true. So that point, 2, 0 satisfies the inequality. Anything on that side of the line will satisfy it. So, in general, when you have like y is less than mx plus b, It doesn't matter what the slope is. It could be like that. We're gonna have a dash line. And the less than, if you have it written in this form, less than means lower. The same as lower. I'm going to shade on the lower half. If I have y is greater than mx plus b, maybe it's like this. I will shade y is greater than or y, he's writing, greater than or above. So I will shade above that dash line. And the only difference that doing that less than or equal to or greater than or equal to changes the lines to solid lines. Oh shit, the door is shut. That's not. Oh. Do you have a question? Do you want to come ask me a question, Ariana? You smell anything burning? This is funny. This is a true story. That is one of my favorite moves to do, especially like on an elevator or something like that. If I fart and it doesn't make a sound, I will go, you guys smell something burning? Because instinctively, everyone will sniff the air to check for fire. Because fire kills. It's a fucking natural instinct to make sure you're not in danger. So like in a trapped room, it's fucking great if they don't know I did it. Because I'll do it right, I'll do this right away. And then like hesitate, wait like a fraction of a second, and then I'll ask about the smoke. Because by that time it's had time to expand and they might get a little piece of it. My wife asked me this like last night or 2 nights ago. She asked me if I smelled something burning. And I looked over at her and my first thing was I was suspicious. No, this wasn't on Sunday. We were playing D&D on Sunday. Playing D&D. She asked if I smelled something burning. I looked over and I'm like, don't I try to, she said, no, really. I smelled something burning. And I smelled the air and I didn't smell anything burning. And then I giggled because it never come back to haunt me. Like now I'm paranoid if someone says is something burning, I'm hesitant. I think it's a trap. Either that or do you smell fresh baked or do you smell chocolate chip cookies? Everybody likes to smell chocolate chip cookies. Even if you don't like chocolate chip cookies, they still smell yummy. Good. What? No, you don't. You can't smell anything. There's nothing. There's nothing. Don't act like you can, because it was a tiny one. I don't smell anything. It's got to go through me to get to you. If you see me go like this, no, you're never going to do it. You can always no. You may be immune to your own like normal like body sweat and stuff like that, but never a fart. All right. Let's look at some more stuff with slope. We said it was rise over run, and I told you change in y over a change in x. I said this before. If we have 2 points x1, y1, and x2, y2. A change in y would be subtracting them. Y2 minus y1. And a change in x would be subtracting them. Now, this is a common way it's written. This is the exact same thing as doing x1 minus, or y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. The point is you got to keep the numbers in line. These numbers got to line up. And you'll get the same value. But in both cases, m equals that. I like using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is important. So let's do a couple test scenarios. Let's find the slope for each of these. And you know what? This. Pets? Yeah. Like a dog. These are Maltese. We had a Maltese before him. He died in August, September. So like, we couldn't get him to the vet fast enough to save his life. It was just choking. Couldn't breathe. It fucking sucked. The breed is purebred Malteses are known for bad throats, and it just hit him. The genetics killed him. But that one was free. This one, my wife was so like in love with the Maltese. She's like, when we get another dog, I want a Maltese. And we were both breathing hard. So we looked up Malteses. And I think we got him for the current one for 600 or 700. It did come up an expensive dog. I love that little motherfucker. All right. So in each of these cases, I'm going to set up m to be a fraction. And I am going to pick values. You kind of need to label them what you want to do. I'm going to label the first point on each of them point number 2, and the second point point number 1. So I need to do y2 minus y1 on top. My y2 value here is -1. My y1 value here is 4. You'll find it helps to put them in parentheses, especially if they're negative, so that you don't fuck it up with the minus sign already there. x2 was 2, and x1 was 6. This ends up being -1 minus 4 is -5 on top. And 2 minus 6 is -4. So this ends up being 5/4. The negative signs cancel. If I switch the order, if I say that the 2 -1 is 0.1, and the 6/4 is 0.2. I'm only going to do this once because I want to show you that they're the same. And it doesn't matter which one you label 0.2. If I do this as 0.2, I got to go 4 is my y2, minus -1, which is my y1, over my x2 is 6, minus my x1 is 2. And here I get 4 minus -1 turns into a plus. 4 plus 1 is 5. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So notice they're the same. It doesn't matter which order you do them. But the values have to go together. Two -1 is that set. 6, 4 is that set. They gotta be above each other. Let's try this for this one. My y2 is the 1. And my y1 is the 7. My x2 is the 4. And my x1 is the -1. One minus 7 is -6. And the minus turn into a plus. 4 plus 1 is 5. Why don't you guys try that last one, see what you guys come up with. And then we'll do it together as a group. Oh, yeah, that was a little wet sounder right there.
That was a little dangerous.
There you go. Carry on, that's for you.
No, Bertha.
She's immune to it. She sat next to me at Starbucks, she's immune to it. When you're over 40, you're immune to this.
Should have sounded like a wet one.
Look, sounded a little wet, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'll have to check my pants later. She was just stretching. She saw you do this and assumed you were covering your nose with a snake. Tell her, she's back here fucking panicking now. Even if you did smell it, it smells like fucking roses. Roses. All right. So if I do this, I've got 4 minus -2 over 0 minus 6. 4 minus -2 is 6. And 0 minus 6 is -6. This just ends up being -1.
I'm gonna use the person because they have a specific diet. Now, you know, humans, they eat, whatever, but horses, they're just based on, like whatever. So, yeah. In order to answer.
You got nothing out of mine. You couldn't smell nothing. When you can, it'll make you. My farts are so good that when you smell them, it'll make you hungry.
That's fucking gross. No, oh, hell no.
It makes you hungry. Salivate. You're like, what did he have? Did he have some bacon today? What was that?
It should have.
That's from that one movie, what is it? You know, I said earlier.
What about,
Executive, right?
what about the points 4, 2 and -2, 2? And then maybe let's do 4, 2 and 4, -1. Find the slopes there. It's too easy with you. Every guy in the room just cracks up to shit like that. Ariana's over here just fucking, ew, grody. Some of you, you like that so much, you're gonna say that shit too. It made you hungry. When you fart, you're gonna tell someone later on. Make you hungry? Maybe not at your age now. You might still be embarrassed by it, but eventually you'll get to the point where it's fucking great. And you're gonna be just as sick as this old fucker up here. And you're gonna love it. It's fucking good shit. You won't. You're always gonna be prissy about it, I can tell. Why are you never doing these when I say do these, try these? You're always sitting there not doing them. You already do it? That's what you,
But doesn't mean that I wasn't.
you're not, your pencil's not moving. I know you're not doing it.
I'm gonna.
The reason why I ask you to try it ahead of me sometimes is that way, if you make a mistake, you can make mistakes here, then figure out what you did wrong by watching how I do. If you wait till you're at home, it's not the same. All right. Nathan, which one should I make? You like Nathan, Nathaniel, or Nate?
Nate's one.
Nate, which one should I call 0.2 and which one should I call 0.1? Just pick one. This isn't too changing. This one, 0.2?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got y2 is 2. Y1 is 2. X2 is -2. X1 is 4. When I do the subtraction, -2 minus 2 is 0. -2 minus 4 is -6.
So if you would have put that around, you would be positive.
Yes. If you did the other way around, you would have gotten +6. But in both circumstances, 0 divided by anything is just 0. That seems unusual. We've had positive slopes, we've had negative slopes. What does m equals 0 mean? Let's plot these points and look at them. -4, 2 is over here. And -2, 2 is over here. And if I connect the dots, I get that. The slope of 0 is a horizontal line. If we go back, look at these initial 2 points, could we have seen that right away without actually drawing it? What do these points have in common? They have the same two, right? The y value is the same. When the y value is the same, you have a slope of 0, you have a horizontal line, and it actually gives you the equation of the line. Y equals 2 is the equation of that line. If you wrote it in slope intercept form, you would see that if we did y equals 0x plus 2, where it's crossing at 0, 2. This just simplifies to y equals 2. So you can see that from the slope intercept form. Here, I conveniently made the x value the same. And I'll do the same order that Nate picked earlier. We will do 4, -1 as my y2 and y1, or y2 and x2. And then 2, 4 here. I get m equals -3 over 0. Here they say m is undefined. And if I plot it, 4, 2 is right here, 4, -1 is right here. And we see we get a vertical line. An undefined slope is a vertical line. And the bottom is 0. Now we have the same x value here, and that's kind of gives us the name of the equation. The x value is 4 on both of these. This line is the x equals 4 line. So whatever that x value is, it's x equals in generic form, like x equals a. In generic form over here, this is y equals b. Just whatever the x value is, that's what it is here. Whatever the y value is, that's what it is there. Any questions? You guys ready for some more? Wait, I need to wait. Already got you trained. I've only done it twice today. You already know if I lean to the side, what's going to happen. She starts shaking her head no. You learn quickly. All right. I'm going to use some slopes we calculated earlier. I'm going to put the points back up here. Let's start with the 0.04 and the 0.6 -2. And we found the slope m equals -1. When you want to graph this and you have 2 points, or if you want to make the equation a line, Finding the equation of the line. You got 2 points and the slope. But actually, the 2 points give you the slope. If one of them is the y-intercept. Like 0, b. You can jump straight to y equals mx plus b. Like I can do here. I have a slope of -1. I have a y-intercept of 4. 0, 4. So this becomes y equals -1x plus 4, or just y equals -x plus 4. Writing out the other points we had. If you don't have the y-intercept, there's an equation we can use. It's called the point slope form of a line. The equation is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This requires, it needs m, you need to know what the slope is, and you need just 1 point. Oh, here we had m equal 5 fourths. And here we had m equals -6/5. So we don't have to redo it. So I can pick any point to be the point number 1. If I can, I try to use ones that have all positive numbers. So I'm going to use 6, 4 as my point number 1. Which means 6 is my x1, 4 is my y1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in the values that I have. I have y1 is 4. I have x1 is 6. And I've got m equals 5 fourths. We'll do the other one in a second, using the other point, but I want to show you something. This is not a very handy thing to graph with. So one thing we might want to do is we can write this as y equals mx plus b by distributing 5 fourths times 6 is 30 fourths. And then I can add 4 to both sides. Adding 4 to both sides isn't very helpful. I'm gonna rewrite 4 by multiplying this by 4/4. So I have a common denominator. This will be 16/4. And then I can add it to that. And when I do that, I get y equals 5/4 x minus 14/4. So that's the slope intercept form of this equation. If we do the other, use the other point, I use the 2, -1. I've got y minus -1 equals 5/4 still, and 5/4 is the same. X minus 2. I've got y plus 1 equals 5/4 x minus, if I multiply 5/4 and 2, I get 10/4. And if I subtract 4/4, which is 1, or -1, I'm going to get this line right up here. I get the same form that we have up there. So it doesn't matter which point you plug in. If you work it out, you should get the same equation. Which is actually a handy way to check the work. Why don't you guys try this here? On this one. With those values. Let's say you use 4,1. Let's call this 0.1. This was one of the news articles a couple days ago. Asteroid the size of 69 American alligators passed Earth on Tuesday. Apparently, the American alligator is now a form of measurement. It's got to be volume. They're doing size. We'll fucking use anything but the metric system over here. I'll tell you what. Anything but the metric system. Fucking using an alligator as the volume size. The fuck.
It's just fun. It's
They,
Florida man.
they couldn't have gone with like cars or something like that, or humans. Maybe the 6 foot tall human. No, they went with alligators. I can't put that in perspective because I haven't like been face to face with an American alligator in a long time. Especially one that was a common adult age to know whether it was the right size or not, like not young or not small. Did you do this one, Ariana? Or did you wait? Okay, well, they haven't been fine, you started. If you start it, you plug in y1 is the 1. My slope is -6 my x is -4. So the equation has minus signs in it. If I distribute that. Actually, let's not distribute it. We're gonna do something else. We already showed you how to distribute and get the other form. Let's get this in the form of ax plus by equals c. This is called the standard form of the equation. So that's what I'm going to pursue here. Best way to do this, clear fractions. Multiply both sides by that denominator. That denominator is 5. If I do that, I get 5y minus 5 equals -6 times x minus 4. Where I've already distributed here. If I distribute over here, I've got 5y minus 5. And I make the -6 multiplied by both of them, I get -6 times x. And -6 times -4 is plus 24. I need to move my x's over to the left, so I'll add 6x to both sides. And I'm going to move all my constant values to the right, so I'm going to add that, the opposite of that -5, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And if I do this, I get 6x plus 5y equals 29. Which part?
The answer plus the. That's what.
You mean having like the 29 over here?
Yeah.
You could, if you subtract everything, if you had subtracted 24 over, this would look like 6x plus 5y minus 29 equals 0. But we tend to not do that. We tend to get all the letters on one side and all the actual non-letters on the other. That's the preferred form. This is cleaner to write and give to people than using the slope intercept. It's not as easy to graph with. Although it does set up doing the x and y intercepts pretty easy. All right, we got one more topic here. And we're going to do an example with it, and we'll let you out of here. So we said parallel lines have the same slope. M1 equals M2. And the symbol for parallel tends to be 2 vertical lines. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. M1 equals -1 over M2. Or you go the other way, M2 equals -1 over M1. The symbol for perpendicular lines is that upside down capital T. And it illustrates how they meet. It's like most street intersections are perpendicular. So for an example here, if M1 equals 5, M2 equals, if I don't have a fraction, I can treat that as having a 1 on bottom. I flip it over and I've got 1/5, and I'll make it negative. If M2 equals -3/2, M1, I flip the fraction over, I put the 2 on top, the 3 on bottom, and I make it the opposite sign. That's what I mean by negative reciprocal. Oh, I'm so fucked, I'm drinking this coffee all the way until 6 p.m. Here's a guy that's not gonna sleep well tonight. What?
Happens some.
All right, so we are going to find the line parallel to and the line perpendicular to the line 2y equals 3x plus 8 and passing through the point 2, 1. So what we need from this, we need the slope from this equation. And that's it. Once we have it, we can dump all the other information. All the other information is irrelevant. What you think you know about this man is irrelevant. How many of you have seen The Matrix? I know. Oh, you guys are missing a great movie. Watching you or what? Oh, you should watch it as an adult. I don't know that you got the same thing from it as you do as a child.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
That stuff is sick.
All right, so how do I get the slope from this? I can write this in y equals mx plus b form. If I write it in y equals mx plus b form, I get the slope. If I do that, I divide both sides by 2. And I get y equals 3/2 x plus I don't care. I could write the value is actually 4. But the 4 is completely irrelevant. What we want is the 3/2. We're going to use that to find the line parallel and perpendicular to that line. So if I want let me write down the information we have. We have m equals 3/2. And we have the 0.21. And that's all we need. We don't care about that old equation anymore. The old equation is dead to us. So the parallel line will have the same slope. And in both cases, we will do that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus 1 equals 3/2 times x minus 2. If I distribute that, I've got y minus 1 equals 3/2 x minus 3. I add 1 to both sides. I get y equals 3/2 x minus 2. If I want the line perpendicular, I will flip that fraction over and it will make it negative. And I'm going to do the same thing. Y minus 1 equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. So negative 2/3 times negative 2 is plus 4/3. I can rewrite this 1 as 3/3. It's negative 1 is negative 3/3. So I'm going to add 3/3 to both sides. And I get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 7/3. When you're adding fractions with a common denominator, you just add the tops. That's the line for the perpendicular line to that other line. And if you graph it, you'll see it. One last thing before we go, just to make it easier to memorize. If you have a problem memorizing this equation up here, this actually stems from m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's my slope equation. Multiply both sides by x2 minus x1 and get rid of the 2 subscript. If I multiply everything by x2 minus x1 here, I get m times x2 minus x1 equals y2 minus y1. And then if I just drop the subscripts for the 2's, I get m times x minus x1 equals y minus y1. Which is the same thing if you switch the sides. So it's really this line, this is really comes from the equation of the slope. You don't need to have that memorized, but it does help you make that formula if you don't memorize, if you have this problem memorizing that one. Most people do this one pretty quick because it follows a pattern. And humans like patterns. All right, I'm gonna let you out early. A whole 1 minute early today. Nope, oh yeah, shit, it is 1 minute. Right when I looked at the computer, it said 5:58. That's it for today. Peace out. Don't do drugs, okay?